Hello everyone, and welcome to this episode of This is Islam. I'm Kai, and in today's episode we look at whether or not eating maniyy is permissible. The question stems from Imam Nawawi's commentary to some hadiths in Sahih Muslim with regards to semen in general. The commentary first establishes the scholarly opinion with regards to praying while having semen on oneself. Quote, "Scholars differ as to whether human semen is ritually impure or not. Malik and Abu Hanifa consider it impure, but Abu Hanifa says that if it is dry, it is sufficient to rub it off to cleanse the garment. The same for one report attributed to Ahmad. Malik considers that it must be washed off, whether it is wet or dry. Al-Layth considers it impure, but if one prays without having washed it, one does not need to repeat one's prayer. Al-Hasan said that prayer need not be repeated if one prayed with semen on one's clothes, even if there is plenty of it." Just a side note, in the Arabic, kathiran. So the hadith is talking about a lot of semen on one's clothes, on their thawb. Something quite noticeable, not just a trace, plenty of it. So for example, if this person were to walk into a mosque, then it would be noticeable to everyone that his clothes are covered in semen. Continuing, but if it is on one's body, then the prayer must be repeated after it is washed off, even if there's only a little of it. Many scholars consider semen to be pure. This is reported to be the view of Ali ibn Abu Talib, Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas, Ibn Umar, Aisha, Dawood, and Ahmad, according to the more accurate of the two views attributed to him. It is also the view of the Shafi'i school of fiqh and hadith scholars. Those who claim that Ash-Shafi'i was the only scholar who considered it pure made a clear error." End quote. There's a brief paragraph here that talks about some side issues, but the commentary from Imam Nawawi continues. Quote, "Such is the ruling concerning human semen. We add an odd and weak view that a woman's semen is impure, unlike man's semen." And at this point there is a footnote by the translator and editor, Adil Salahi, which I will come back to in a moment. Continuing, "We add an odd and weak view that a woman's semen is impure, unlike man's semen. An even weaker view is that the semen of both is impure. The correct view is that both are pure. Another question is, since semen is pure, is it permissible to eat?" Okay, I want everyone to understand that this is in the original Arabic. Yes, indeed, the question being asked is it permissible to eat semen? The commentary continues. There are two views on this point, but the more correct one is that it is forbidden because it is dirty. As such, it belongs to the category of foul stuffs that are forbidden for Muslims to eat. The semen of other animals, such as dogs and pigs, or a cross between either one of these two and another animal, is impure, and there is no difference of views on this point. As for other animals, there are three different views, and the more correct of these is that their semen is all pure, whether such animals are permissible to eat or not. The second view is that they are all impure, and the third view is that the semen of animals that may be eaten is pure, but that of other animals is impure, but God knows best. End quote. So not only is this commentary attempting to ascertain the permissibility of eating semen, it's also examining the purity of semen from various types of animals, including hybrids. I'm not making this stuff up. I'm giving you the sources where you can look this up yourselves, including the original Arabic. Now, returning to the footnote, Adil Salahi, who is the translator and editor, writes, quote, "The point about eating semen is a detail that follows from it being ritually pure or impure. I considered deleting this paragraph as it is irrelevant. I ultimately decided to retain it as an example of the sort of academic question requiring an answer." End quote. I considered deleting this paragraph? Gee, I wonder why. But besides the obvious, considering to delete a paragraph, yet claiming to be providing a translation of the full commentary entails another problem: the integrity of the whole translation process itself. Is this paragraph not part of the commentary? Absolutely it is. Whatever the reasons Nawawi had for writing that paragraph as part of his commentary, it's overstepping the bounds for Adil Salahi to be injecting his own value judgments into the translation process and giving the excuse for keeping this paragraph in because it demonstrates some sort of academic purpose. This paragraph is completely in line in the Arabic publications. It's not set aside as a footnote or whatever. It is 100% completely in line with the main commentary text of Nawawi, which anyone can go and verify. Rather, the author knows how embarrassing this commentary is, but he also knows that if he were to not include it, then his professionalism would be in question. You can't claim to be providing a translation of the full commentary, yet be selective with the text, making value judgment decisions what and what not to translate. The point is to provide Nawawi's commentary in full, not make judgments on the value of Nawawi's commentary or justifications why something in Nawawi's commentary should or should not be translated. Those studying Nawawi's commentaries have their reasons why it's essential to provide a complete translation if that's how these volumes are being marketed. Some people may want to study Nawawi from a historical perspective. Others may want to study Nawawi with respect to fiqh. Others may want to study Nawawi for his analysis on the reliability of hadith narrators, while others may want to use Nawawi to make YouTube videos to present authentic Islam. It's completely fine for a translator to be selective, but don't then turn around and claim you are providing a translation of the full commentary if that's really not the case. Just to be clear, Adil Salahi did indeed translate this portion as I cited it, so I don't want people to misunderstand me to think I'm saying he didn't. But we clearly see in his own words that he was wrestling with the issue. But now someone may point out that the cover of the book presents Adil Salahi as not only the translator, but also the editor, thereby supposedly giving him the flexibility in being selective. This argument does not work because by editing in the context of this series is meant to rearrange the original Arabic material in a way that is more conducive to modern ways of reading and overall textual layout, and to facilitate easier absorption of the content, as well as provide explanatory notes for things that Nawawi assumed of his targeted audience at the time that not everyone nowadays will readily know or be aware of. So Adil Salahi's role as editor is to basically make the text more accessible to us, not decide what and what not to translate. The overall point I'm making is that to even entertain the idea to possibly not translate the paragraph and then make up an excuse as to why in the end it should be translated puts into question the integrity of the translation process. Such a situation should never arise to begin with. Moreover, we don't award points for choosing to do what should be done in the first place. A full commentary means a full commentary. It means one does not inject their own value judgments on the contents of the source material. People like Adil Salahi have no business making the call whether something is or is not relevant if they claim to be providing a full translation. But we can all read between the lines, and no one is buying the BS that any of this has to do with hypothetical questions or academic thought experiments. But just so that everyone appreciates the fuller context of these commentaries, they stem from a set of hadiths in Sahih Muslim on the theme of what to do when one has semen on their clothes. The following are two hadiths to illustrate the point. The first hadith, quote, Alqama and Aswad reported, A person stayed in the house of Aisha and in the morning began to wash his garment. Aisha said, in case you saw it, i.e., drop of semen, it would have served the purpose of purifying the garment if you had simply washed that spot. And in case you did not see it, it would have been enough to sprinkle water around it. For when I saw that on the garment of the Messenger of Allah, I simply scraped it off and he offered prayer while putting that on. End quote. And the second hadith, quote, Abdullah bin Shihab al-Khawlani reported, I stayed in the house of Aisha and had a wet dream and perceived its effect on my garment. So in the morning I dipped both the clothes in water. This act of mine was watched by a maidservant of Aisha, and she informed her. She, Hadrat Aisha, sent me a message. What prompted you to act like this with your clothes? He, the narrator, said, I told that I saw in a dream what a sleeper sees. She said, did you find any mark of the fluid on your clothes? I said, no. She said, had you found anything, you should have washed it. In case I found that semen on the garment of the Messenger of Allah dried up, I scraped it off with my nails. End quote. Besides the fact that you have men who are not Aisha's husband sleeping in her house and having wet dreams about her, it's a bit puzzling to see how Imam Nawawi goes from washing one's clothes from semen so as to be able to offer prayers to entertaining the question of whether or not it is permissible to eat semen. Perhaps it was his way of being discreet in addressing a particular societal taboo. It could very well have been his way of providing answers to questions people had but didn't dare ask. Thank you for tuning into this episode. Next time on This is Islam, I will discuss obligatory ghusl, those instances when full body ritual bathing becomes mandatory after committing certain acts. Stay tuned.